Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to really cut through the noise and bring you the insights that matter. And today we're getting into something huge, something that impacts billions of us, the global airport security market.
Yeah, our guide for this is a really detailed source, Global Airport Security Market Outlook and Growth Forecasts from Cognitive Market Research. So our mission today is basically to unpack what this market is all about, not just the dollars and cents, but why it's growing so fast, what kind of tech is involved, and what it means for the future of keeping air travel safe. And honestly, some of the numbers and trends we're going to talk about are pretty surprising.
Absolutely. And I think this really matters to you, our listener, because it connects directly to your own travel experiences, but also to these bigger global trends we're seeing. It's about more than just money. It's about how airports are fundamentally changing, becoming these incredibly complex, tech-driven hubs. It touches everything from when you walk in the door, reflecting shifts in security thinking, technology, and even economic development worldwide. Okay, so let's kick things off with some of those really eye-opening figures. Because the global airport security market isn't just, growing steadily. It's seeing this massive surge. Get this. It was valued at about $12.42 billion back in 2021. And the projection, it's set to more than double, soaring to, wow, $32.4 billion by 2033.
That's a huge jump.
It really is. And we're talking about a pretty healthy compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 8.321% forecasted between 2025 and 2033. I mean, that's not just small steps. That kind of strong, consistent growth points to a massive worldwide focus on boosting aviation safety and huge investments in, like, next-gen security stuff.
Right. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is digging into why. What are the forces pushing this acceleration? The source points to several key drivers. You've got, well, the obvious one, more people flying globally. Increased passenger traffic just demands more security.
Makes sense.
Then there are the regulations. They're constantly getting stricter, evolving to meet new kinds of threats, which forces airports to upgrade. Plus, rising geopolitical risks definitely play a part, making robust security essential. And crucially, there's the whole digitization of airports themselves. Everything's becoming more connected, which creates new security needs, but also new solutions.
Okay, that paints a clear picture of the why. So when we talk about these huge investments in making airports, as you said, highly secure, tech-enabled environments, what does that actually look like on the ground? What kind of systems are we talking about? How is it changing things for us travelers?
Yeah, it's really about a rapid evolution in technology. It's changing the whole game. We're seeing, for example, much more widespread use of biometric authentication. Think fingerprints, facial recognition. It makes identifying passengers quicker and much more secure.
Smoother check-ins, potentially.
Exactly. And then there's AI-driven surveillance. These systems are getting incredibly smart. They're not just recording anymore. They're actively analyzing feeds, looking for anomalies, spotting potential issues in real time. Smart baggage scanning is another big one, using advanced imaging to find threats way more accurately than before. And maybe most critically, there's this huge focus now on cyber-physical security. It's not just about protecting the airport's computers and networks, but ensuring the physical systems like baggage belts, maybe even boarding gates, can't be hacked or disrupted digitally.
Wow, okay, so it's really layered.
Precisely. It's about creating these integrated layers of defense, turning airports into these, well, dynamic and resilient security zones.
Okay, so we've got the big picture, the tech involved. Now let's zoom in a bit. Where is all this money actually being spent? Let's look at the regional breakdown, because this is where you see some really interesting differences. The growth isn't the same everywhere.
Right, the geographical spread is quite revealing.
Let's start with North America. It's still a major powerhouse in import security spending, right? The forecast shows growth from just under $5 billion in 2021, expected to hit $12.5 billion by 2033.
Yeah, North America is definitely leading in terms of overall market size. And within that, no surprise, the U.S. accounts for the biggest chunk. It's projected to reach almost $10 billion by 2033.
Okay.
But what's really interesting, as the source highlights, is Canada. While its total market is smaller, around $1.73 billion projected.
Yeah.
Its growth rate, its CAGR, is the highest in the region at nearly 9%, about 8.99%.
Huh. So faster growth in Canada.
Seems so. It suggests a real strategic push there towards, aggressive modernization of their airport infrastructure, maybe catching up, maybe aiming to set new standards. Mexico's also growing, expected near $946 million.
Interesting. Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe, another big market expanding significantly too, looking at growth from about $3.56 billion in 2021 to nearly $9 billion, $8.97 billion, actually by 2033.
That's right. And you have the established players, Germany, France, the UK driving a lot of that. France, for instance, is forecast to go over $1.27 billion. But the real standout growth story in Europe, according to the report, is actually the rest of Europe category.
Oh, what does that include?
Think Eastern Europe, other regional airports across the continent. That segment is projected to hit $2.34 billion, growing at a really strong CAGR of over 9.4%.
Wow.
Yeah, it indicates it's not just the huge hubs getting upgrades. There's a broad investment wave happening across Europe.
Good to see. All right, let's shift over to Asia Pacific, or APAC. The report describes this region as growing at a rapid pace, from $2.35 billion in 2021, expected to jump to almost $6.6 billion, $6.58 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 9.2%.
APAC is definitely a hot spot. You've got the big economies like China, Japan leading the charge, naturally.
Yeah.
But India is also showing really impressive growth. It's expected to cross the $1 billion mark by 2033 with a CAGR close to 10%, 9.99% to be exact.
That's significant.
It is. But what's potentially even more eye-catching is the rest of APAC segment. This includes places like Vietnam, the Philippines, really dynamic, fast-developing economies.
And their growth.
Remarkable, a projected CAGR of over 11.2%. That makes it one of the fastest-growing airport security markets globally.
Wow.
It just highlights the massive infrastructure build-out and the boom in travel demand happening there.
Okay, South America next.
Yeah.
Also showing significant growth, nearly tripling, the report says, from about $819 million in 2021 up to $2.33 billion by 2033.
Yes, substantial growth there too.
Yeah.
Brazil leads the pack in South America, expected to account for around $698 million of that 2033 total. Argentina follows. And similar to other regions, the rest of South America category is also seeing strong growth, projected to hit almost $1 billion, $994 million by 2033, with a CAGR over 9.6%.
So a broad commitment there as well.
Seems like, yeah. Improving infrastructure and safety across the region.
What about the Middle East? Known for its major travel hubs, the market there is expanding steadily, expected to more than double from $434 million in 2021 to $972 million by 2033.
That's right. Key players there are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt. The UAE in particular shows pretty robust growth, a CAGR of nearly 7.84%, projected to reach almost $108 million by 2033. It ties into all those huge infrastructure projects and their position as a global crossroads with a real emphasis on high-tech security solutions.
Okay, that covers almost everywhere. But we've saved perhaps the most dramatic growth story for last. Africa. The source calls it the fastest growing region overall. So what does this actually mean for the continent?
Yeah, the numbers for Africa are really something else. It's quite transformative. The market size is expected to surge, really surge, from a lower starting point of $298 million in 2021, all the way up to over $1 billion, $1.04 billion by 2033.
And the growth rate?
An incredible 11.581% CAGR overall for the region. Just phenomenal growth.
Wow, which countries are leading that?
Well, countries like Nigeria and South Africa are definitely key drivers. Again, it's the rest of Africa category that shows the most explosive growth percentage-wise. It's projected to reach over $478 million by 2033, with a truly stunning CAGR of almost 12%, 11.989%.
That's amazing. What does that suggest?
I think it suggests Africa isn't just playing catch-up. With this level of investment and the adoption of new technologies, particularly in emerging aviation hubs, they might actually leapfrog some of the more traditional development paths. It could potentially set new models for how you rapidly and efficiently build out secure aviation infrastructure.
Fascinating. So bringing this all together, what does this massive global investment mean for us, the people actually flying? It seems pretty clear, as the source suggests, that governments, airports, private companies, they're all prioritizing air travel safety like never before. It's not just reactive anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. It's proactive investment on a huge scale. But, connecting this to the bigger picture, all this spending on digital tech, integrated systems, it does raise an important question. As our airports become these increasingly automated, interconnected sort of digital fortresses, what are the new challenges and the opportunities? How do we ensure it's not just about safety, but also about maintaining or even improving the efficiency and, well, the overall trust and experience for travelers? That's the next frontier, perhaps.
That's a great point to ponder, balancing that high-tech security with a smooth, humane travel experience. Well, the next time you find yourself navigating an airport, maybe take a second to think about this incredible web of technology, investment, and global strategy that's working behind the scenes. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the global airport security market. We hope it gave you a different perspective. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something critical, something that's changing really fast: airport security. Our mission for you is to kind of cut through all that complexity. We want to figure out how air travel is getting safer, yes, but also, well, smarter. And what's behind it all? Really, it's two big things.
Mm.
Global air traffic is just soaring, and sadly, security threats are getting more sophisticated. Okay, so let's unpack this a little. There are some major forces really pushing the market forward. First off, just the sheer number of people flying. I mean, global air traffic is set to basically double by 2037.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's what, over 4 billion new passengers every year. It puts enormous pressure on airports, especially in rapidly growing areas like Asia, Africa, Latin America.
Right.
And this boom, it's pushing governments, private operators too, to pour money into serious security upgrades. We're talking integrated surveillance, high-tech biometric gates to speed things up.
Exactly. Security isn't just tacked on anymore. It's like it has to be baked into the design of modern airports. And what's fascinating there is how that sheer volume connects directly to the second big driver,
Mm.
the threat landscape. It's
Mm.
escalating. It's constantly changing. Terrorism, organized crime.
hmm
Incidents anywhere in the world now demand tougher policies, sure, but also smarter policies. Real-time monitoring is key. Advanced screening tech, like facial recognition, biometric ID checks. That's becoming pretty standard now.
So it's not just about convenience then.
No, not at all. These are critical layers. They're designed to help identify, track people more effectively, more proactively.
And then there's the third piece, equally important, I think, which is the tech itself. The smart technologies being adopted,
Oh, definitely.
things like AI, predictive analytics, 3D imaging,
hmm
they're being used for accuracy, of course, but maybe just as importantly, to speed up the screening process.
Yeah, reduce those bottlenecks we all hate.
Exactly. And cut down on human error, too. It's all geared towards making security smarter, faster, more, responsive. But look, even with all this tech and investment, it's not all smooth sailing, is it? There are some pretty big challenges facing the market.
Absolutely. You hit on a key one earlier, the cost. The
Yeah.
upfront investment is just, well, huge.
Right.
And it's not only buying the equipment, you've got maintenance, staffing, very specialized training. It all adds up. I mean, think about it. One of those new CT scanners for checked bags, that can easily top $1 million.
Oh,
So for smaller regional airports, maybe already running on tight budgets, that's a massive barrier. It makes it really hard for them to keep pace.
and then there's this other really sensitive issue: passenger privacy, data security.
A big one.
As airports use more biometrics, more sophisticated behavioral analytics, the regulators are watching more closely. You've got stricter data laws like GDPR over in
The
Europe.
General Data Protection Regulation, yeah.
That could definitely slow things down, maybe even restrict how some of this data gets used. It's a really tricky balance to strike.
Which, raises another important question. What about actually making all these systems work together? The integration, the
Yeah, the
interoperability.
legacy systems problem.
Exactly. A lot of airports are still working with older setups that, frankly, just don't play well with the newer platforms. Trying to upgrade these complex networks, it can be technically really difficult, incredibly expensive, and often leads to major delays in getting modernized.
Looking ahead, though, thinking about the future, there are some really interesting trends that are going to shape what airport security looks like for you, the traveler. One huge shift, and the pandemic really accelerated this, is the move towards contactless, touchless solutions.
Down.
Think automated electronic gates, maybe remote thermal scanning for health checks, using facial recognition for check-in. It's all about reducing physical contact points and boosting safety.
And if you connect that to the bigger technological picture, AI and predictive analytics are just continuing to break through. It's pivotal.
How so?
Well, these tools aren't just reactive. They analyze patterns, how crowds move, past incidents, to actually anticipate problems, like potential bottlenecks or even spotting suspicious behavior before it really develops.
So security teams can be more proactive.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Much more proactive, much more targeted with their resources,
Yeah.
putting people and tech exactly where they're needed most.
And one last trend we're seeing is stronger teamwork, really, between governments and the private tech sector.
Yeah, the collaboration is key.
It seems driven by this global push for more standardized security rules. You see initiatives like smart checkpoints or unified databases trying to connect the dots internationally. The end goal: a safer, but also more seamless travel experience for everyone. So wrapping it up then, The airport security market is clearly changing fast. It's driven by need, it's powered by some incredible tech, and it's really being shaped by more collaboration. It seems obvious that these advanced security solutions are absolutely central to keeping aviation safe and efficient as you travel in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to chew on. As this technology keeps racing ahead, what kind of new balance will we find between that cutting edge, always on security, and the convenience, the smooth journey that we all want as travelers? How might that fundamentally change the way you experience flying down the road?